What's up, everyone? Welcome to the very first episode of the BamaCollegeTake. This is a podcast with Bama College students, and in each episode, we're going to be breaking down the previous Bama game, the upcoming Bama game, highlight film, and doing pick'ems each game. My name is Jackson Tingle. I'm your host, and I'm joined here by Cole Pearson.
How's it going, guys?
And welcome to the first episode. All right, starting off with our first segment here, we're going to briefly touch on the Wisconsin game from 2 weekends ago. We're going to go into each position group and basically give a letter grade and our thoughts on each of those. Starting with the passing, Ty Simpson looked phenomenal versus Wisconsin. I think at one point he was like 27 for 27. It's been 2 weeks. Is that right, Cole? I think that's what he was. Should have had.
Like if you take the Louisiana Monroe game and then like the first half of this Wisconsin game, his completion percentage was like unbelievable. He's been hot.
Best pass completion rate in the SEC, I think. Double check me on that. But should have had over 400 yards. Should have had 5 touchdowns instead of 4 there. We'll talk about that later. Ty also leading rusher. Gonna get into rushing in a little bit, but because of Ty's performance, I'm giving the quarterbacks an A+ here.
Yeah, me as well. A+. He looks so comfortable. He's come such a far way from that Florida State game in just 2 games. He's looked unbelievable, putting the ball right where it needs to be. It looks fun. He looks confident. Very happy with how he's performing, and absolutely, I'm giving him an A+ as well.
Yep, I agree. Rushing, we've got to get the run game going here, especially going into SEC play. You cannot win in the SEC if you cannot run the football. I love what I'm seeing so far from Kevin Riley. Looks very explosive in the backfield. If you would have asked me before the season if Kevin Riley would have been our running back 1, I would have told you no, he's probably our running back 4. I think I would have put Dre Washington over Kevin Riley. But now you ask me, Kevin Riley's our running back 1. He's had the most production. He's the most explosive back we've got. He also fits into DeBoer and Grubb's offensive scheme very well, I think. He's more of a receiving back than the other backs that we have. Also a local guy in Tuscaloosa County from Northport. So Kevin Riley, he's been great this season. I think with Jay Miller back, if you want my opinion, I still think Kevin Riley starts, and I think Jay Miller is still going to be limited this weekend versus Georgia, just coming off injury. But still going to expect to see Jim in there a good amount. But I think he's limited just because he's coming off that injury. Richard Young, very great talent. 5-star coming out of high school, I believe. Everything I say, I don't want to say it wrong, but I believe he was a 5-star. But just not a whole lot of production there so far this season. I really expected more, and it's not to bash Richard Young there. I just with Jam going down, even with Jam Miller and rotating in, I thought Richard Young would have seen would have had a lot of production even with Jam in. But just not getting the full potential there from Richard Young, I think, so far this season. And then we get the Washington transfer, Dre Washington. Expect a little bit more from him.
Louisiana.
Louisiana Lafayette. Is that right?
Yeah.
Sorry. Washington's his last name. DeBoer. Anyway, expected to see a lot more from him too. He was. Do you know what his stats were at Louisiana Lafayette, Cole? What were they?
Yeah, I got him right here. He was a 3-year starter there, it looks like, or he got 3 years of significant production at 350 rushing yards, then over 500, and then like 480. So you're looking at around that 400 rushing yard mark every single season, which is a solid producer. So you would expect if he were to make a transfer, he would be climbing up the ladder, right? Mm-hmm. Trying to get into a better role or go to a better school. But it just feels like he's kind of gone down a couple rungs on the ladder because he just hasn't seen a lot of clock. Only 9 carries through 3 games, a lot of it coming in garbage time. I don't know if he expected to just compete better in the summertime and beat out some dudes, but he just hasn't seen a ton of action so far.
Yeah, and he's a senior too, I believe. Upperclassman. So, transferring, Bama develops backs really well. But he's I hate to say it, but he's a little buried on the depth chart. But um,
Mhm.
Kevin Riley's been great, hasn't been phenomenal. So somebody has got to step up this season. Our running back cannot be our leading rusher at every game, especially in DeBoer's
Quarterback,
offense.
quarterback can't be.
Or yeah, quarterback. I'm sorry. Um, and I know DeBoer's offense is a pass first offense. But it's not like we're not running the football. We're running the football a good amount. We're just not getting results from.
Not even like I mean, it is pass first, but I think more so we're like a spread offense with a
Yeah,
lot of explosiveness and speed. And you're looking at guys like Daniel Hill and Richard Young who just don't fit that profile.
yeah,
They feel a little bit thicker, a little bit more power back. They might be a little bit more successful in like a Big Ten style
yeah.
of offense. But
Michigan.
in this Ryan Grubb, Dylan DeBoer offense, Kevin Riley and Dan Miller when he's back, I think fit the profile of this team a little bit better, and I think that's why they're seeing more success because they just have more juice.
Yeah,
They have more explosiveness, more agility, and that's why we're seeing that in the
yeah.
first couple games so far.
And that's another thing. We're not even seeing Daniel Hill on this list right here. Um,
Strictly like a pass blocker, it feels
Yeah,
like.
that's what I was about to say. Strictly in there for pass protection, and that's a problem because every time Daniel Hill's in the game, teams are they're gonna see that they're gonna pick up on that. Daniel Hill's in the game, it's a pass play. And so something's got to change. We got to get the run game going, especially going to SEC play. As I said, you're not gonna win games in the SEC if you can't run the football. We saw that with us last year. I think we had trouble running the football. We didn't do too well in SEC play, but I'm this game I'm going to give the running back room a C plus.
I'm gonna go C minus with the running backs. Um, luckily we didn't need them
Yeah,
because it was just a blowout. We're significantly better, but we're gonna preview the Georgia game in a little bit. But just to hint at it, like we need better. We got to have more production out of here. A C minus performance from the running back group is not going to cut it next week.
and
And
I never would have guessed that I would be giving an Alabama running back room a C minus in a performance, but
oh yeah, especially against a pretty bad Wisconsin team.
yeah,
That's the kind of game that you just stuff it down their throat. You
got
just
beat by
run the hell out
Maryland
of the
last
ball.
weekend. I think is that right?
Say it again.
They got beat by Maryland last week.
Oh yeah, at home,
Yeah.
embarrassing, dude.
But anyway,
Um,
you have anything else do you want to say about
we
the
don't.
running backs? Or you want to move on?
That's all I got to say about the rushing group. C minus, just got to be better.
Um, But kind of a complete 180 here. Like you said, we didn't need the rushing game this that versus Wisconsin. Um, the receiving room we did need. Pretty much the whole reason we won. Um, Germie Bernard was the only rushing touchdown we had, and he was a receiver. So Ryan Williams finally had a great game, breakout game. Incredible juke move we saw live in person. Sick, absolutely sick. Um, I mean, receiving group, they played. I'm gonna give them an A. Could have been better. Had a couple drop passes, one for a touchdown. So I'm gonna go A here. Ryan Williams looked great. German Bernard, wide receiver one, looking phenomenal this season. I think he's gonna be um, one of the highest picks we have this draft, other than Caden Proctor and um, you know Tim Keenan maybe, LT Overton maybe too. You could throw in there, but Jeremy Bernard's making a great case for his draft stock. Isaiah Horton had a great game also, 5 receptions. I think that's the most he's had so far this season. 1 touchdown, incredible catch. We'll get into that later. Huge frame by Horton. Um, him and Ty played 7-on-7 together in high school. Ty was his quarterback
I
in
got that.
7-on-7, so they got a good connection there. Like I said, huge frame. You could make a case for if he continues to have success this season, him and Bernard, could have an argument for being our wide receiver one. And then Lottie Brooks, the true freshman, was a 3-star for a while. Finally got the 4-star bump, I believe, at some point his senior year. Um, has looked great this season. He's kind of having I wouldn't say a Ryan Williams type freshman season as last year, but not too far from it. He's looked absolutely incredible. Great speed, plays bigger than he is. I think he's about 5'10" maybe.
Yeah,
Balls up in the
he's
air,
a beast
he's going to
for
get it. What'd you say?
He's a beast when it comes to run blocking,
Yeah,
contested catches. He like when he's out on the field, like you'd think he'd be 4 inches taller and
yeah,
30 pounds heavier.
that's
But he's
right. And that's a great mindset to have. Each of these receivers, need to have the mindset of Latair Brooks when it comes to that. We lost Kendrick Law to the portal over the offseason, and um, he was a guy that we could really rely on, for screenplays, for run plays to go out there and be a great blocking receiver. And Latair Brooks, even though he's a bit smaller, he hasn't been playing like it. I love that, and he's been great, not only in the blocking game, but great in the passing game too. He's had the last 2 games have been great for Latair Brooks. And then Caleb Edwards too, right here, tight end, true freshman also. Dude, he's massive, big guy. Um,
yeah. Him
so
and Pritchett are going to be like a fun duo in a
yeah,
couple of years.
that
Really fun.
if we can retain him and Pritchett, then we're gonna have some dudes in the tight end room. But I'm gonna give our receiving group an A here. Have you said yours, Cole?
I'm going A as well. It's just the
Yeah.
2 hiccups, the 2 drops was it.
Yeah. Yep. All right.
Yeah, you covered it. This receiver group, like everyone's archetype fits each other so well. You got your big body guy in Horton that can win on the outside. You've got Germie Bernard, who's just like a nice safety blanket. He's always going to be open. And then if
Mr.
you need a big play, you're going to go to Ryan.
Yeah.
So I think it's honestly the best receiving room in the country. It's either us or maybe Auburn or maybe A&M, but we're up there, and obviously Ohio State.
Yeah.
We have one of the best receiving rooms in the country, and yeah, I'm so excited about this group. They get an A, just the 2 drops, but I think those are easy things that we can clean up. Very content, very happy with how they played.
Yeah. I like what you said about the different archetypes there. Jeremy Bernard, he's a senior leader, Mr. Reliable. Isaiah Horton, huge frame, just great receiver build. Ryan Williams with the elusiveness, great body control. Latair Brooks playing, like we said, playing bigger than he is. And then, not even on this list, Rico Scott, the speedster, fastest guy on the team there. So, love our receiving core this year. And, also Jalen Mbakwe, you could throw him in there. A lot of depth right there. But you want to do offensive player of the week, Cole?
I think we both got to be in agreement. I'd like to give an honorable mention, Ryan Williams. Coming off of a concussion, I think people weren't expecting him to do amazing things, but man, did he show up. 2 highlight plays, 75-yard touchdown, and then the 1 touchdown where he hit that juke move. I'm sure everyone saw it. He's my honorable mention, but we got to be in agreement that it's got to be Ty Simpson, right?
Yep, I agree. Was a super hot game. We play an 11 a.m. game in Wisconsin in September. It's gonna be fine. Having that down in Alabama, it was miserable.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it was hot. But Ty Simpson and this receiving group made it a little bit less miserable and a great game to watch. So let's move on to defense now. Finally got a sack. Other than our safety, our defensive line finally stepped up, got some production from them. LT Overton with the tack, Jan Zapier. I believe he's the nephew of Courtney Upshaw, former Alabama player also. He got a sack. Quay Russaw with the sack. He's going to be an absolute stud. Quay Russaw, only a sophomore. Is from Montgomery, Alabama. He is, incredible athlete and has incredible size also. London Simmons, another true freshman, had a great game. He got the start actually. So that was surprising to see, but nonetheless, he stepped up. He did his job. And then Bray Hubbard, great game from Bray. I think that Florida State film was quite possibly the best thing that could have happened to Bray.
Absolutely.
It lit a fire in him. And we saw it this game. Had a great game. Xavier Brown. I don't know why he's up here. I'm not seeing. I guess
Yeah, pass deflection.
pass deflection. Yeah.
And
Um.
also, the only touchdown of the game. It was decent defense, though.
Yeah.
That was a
That's
good
what I
throw,
was about to
good
say.
catch.
Yeah.
Not
But
worried about Zane.
yeah. Not worried about Xavier. He does his job. And corner. Having to guard a guy every single play in the game and giving up one play, people might think that's a bad thing. Corner's a hard position, in my opinion, the hardest to play, especially when it comes to.
Former corner right here.
That's
So you
right.
would know.
And we play a lot of man too, so just having to play man almost every play. Damani Jackson does a great job at it, but Xavier Brown, he's still a young buck, but I'm like you said, I'm not worried about him there. And then Bray Hubbard, two picks. Bray was also laying some wood this game. Absolute headhunter.
Can we just say it now? He was the defensive player of the game.
Yep, he was my defensive player of the game.
He was everywhere. He was awesome.
Yep, great to see that. I'm gonna give our defense I'm gonna go A minus.
I'm gonna go A because we allowed 2 touchdowns, but one of them was on special teams. So really, our defense allowed 7 points. You'll take that every day.
Yep.
I will take 7.
Yeah, really the only reason I'm going A minus is because there was just a few plays that Wisconsin got off that good defenses just don't allow. But nonetheless, great game for my defense there. Cole Adams, great punt returner back there. Honestly,
Beast.
Do what?
Beast.
Yeah.
He's a beast.
He is. Connor Talty, Chicago native, up there. And then I'd also like to point out before we move on from this that we've had no turnovers this season. Which that Florida State game, you kind of feel like there would be a turnover in there, but no turnovers. That's great to see. So people are worried. They're worried about the drop catches, the drop passes, and things like that. But in regards to turnovers, dropping passes is a much easier fix than turning the ball over. And if we can get the run game going on top of that with no turnovers, that's how you win. That's how you win in the SEC. But yeah, special teams look great. I'm gonna go B minus just because we gave up that kick return. But
yeah, I'll go probably like a C on the special teams. You want to get into some film study on that?
Yeah. So we'll get into that this next segment. We're gonna call it the good, the bad, the ugly. We're gonna pick three clips from each game and break them down. One good clip, one bad clip, one ugly clip. And talk about one of those each week. All right, welcome to the good, the bad, the ugly segment. Gonna start off with the ugly here, and end with the good, just because I like ending on a high note. Obviously from this game, ugly is gonna be this kick return here. We're gonna break this down real quick. Gonna pause it right there. I don't know who this is right here. I can't tell. I don't know if you can, Cole. I think this is Ivan. Do what?
He looks like he's a tight end. Doesn't he look a little thicker?
Yeah, it might be Jay Lindsey, the transfer from Troy. It might be who that is. Could be wrong. Again, I can't really tell. It looks like an 80 number. Can't tell. Could also be the tight end transfer we had from West Virginia. His name slips my mind. I don't know if you know him, Cole. But this right here, this looks like Ivan Taylor, 13, and this is Dijon Lee, both true freshmen. Highly talented recruits. We got Latier here. But anyway, whoever this guy is here, where my mouse is over, he's running into Dijon, so he's coming out of his lane. This guy's getting blocked out of his lane too. I can't tell who that is. That looks like QB Reese maybe. But he's coming out of his lane. But not only is he coming out of his lane, he's running into Dijon Lee, so he's taking 2 guys out by himself, and it just opens up this lane here, and then it's just off to the races. Yeah, that's QB Reese there. That's Keon. And And then, we got to rely on Connor Talty to make a tackle. But yeah, that was the ugly play for me. Any other thoughts on that, Cole? Easy fix, but going into Athens, can't allow that to happen in a close game like that. Or that place is gonna erupt. And momentum's everything when it comes to games like that. So gotta clean it up. Like I said, shouldn't be too hard of a fix there, but that's all I've got.
That was my only take there, is that it's better to put it on film now and work it out in practice this week than for it to happen in the fourth quarter in Athens. So I'm happy that it happened in a 24-point victory rather than a close loss on the road in a conference game.
I agree. All right, now we're on to our bad. We did the ugly, kick return. We're on to the ugly here. This is a play that I don't think a lot of people noticed. But in real time, even I noticed this. I watched it happen, and I immediately knew that when we were gonna do this podcast, that this was the clip I was gonna use for the bad. So I believe it's this. See, can you see my mouse here? You can't see. Okay, you can't see my mouse on the screen here. But it's that Wisconsin linebacker on the A in the word Alabama there on the logo. If you just watch him, we're gonna click play here. Let it run. Then right here we've got Richard Young in the backfield. There's my mouse there. We got Richard Young in the backfield here. And just watch what happens here. I'm gonna go back. This is the linebacker I want you to watch. We got Richard Young in the backfield, in pass protection, and Richard Young, he's chopping his feet and he gets put on his butt, and not only does the linebacker put our, what's I don't know his measurements here, Colby. Richard Young's wide, like 6 foot 230.
I got it right here. Is 5'11", 212.
Okay, I was way off. 5'11", 212, great build, huge frame, like a lot of guys on the team. But not only is this Wisconsin linebacker putting, our so-called running back one since Jam Miller got hurt on his butt, but he's also making the sack here. So it's just simply Jam Miller just has to do a better job of pass protection. NFL teams are gonna, see this on film, and it's gonna stick out like a sore thumb. And I don't think a lot of people noticed it. I don't think a lot of people saw it. I saw it, and I'm gonna click play one more time here before you say anything, Cole. And hopefully you can see. But here, Richard Young, he's chopping he's not really chopping his feet, but he's bouncing around before he's making contact with this linebacker. He's got to be able to set his feet up under him, get a good foundation. He's super strong legs. He's a running back. And, he's got to bring the pop to this linebacker. Instead, he's letting this linebacker bring the pop to him. He's getting put on his butt. Just a bad play. There you can see the chopped feet. Gets the sack. That's all I've got, Cole.
Can't be afraid of contact as a running back. And I think if we're bringing this up right here on this podcast, it's going to be brought up. It probably already was brought up whenever they watched film last week.
Yep.
And I got a feeling that Richard Young might be in the doghouse. He actually probably was in the doghouse because he didn't see much of the field after that play. He only had 4 carries on the game for 3 yards.
He also didn't start this game.
Yeah. So I got a feeling that he's losing some favor with the coaching staff. You've got Jim Miller coming back. I think Richard Young maybe got into the spotlight a little too early. I think he needs a little bit more development.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'm not trying to completely trash on the dude, hate the dude, because he's a talented guy.
I love the guy.
Five stars. So I just think he needs a little bit more development, and maybe 2026 is the year for Richard Young.
Yeah.
Not now though.
Going off what you said earlier, not Richard Young, Daniel Hill, he's got a great, frame for pass protection. He's probably our best pass, running back when it comes to that. But like I said, you can't throw Daniel Hill out every pass play to block. It's not that Richard Young can't do this, or he's got it. He's got to be able to do this. It's not he can't do it. So let Daniel Hill do it every time. Richard Young has got to be able to do this. Or else every time it's going to be Daniel Hill. The other team's going to know it's a pass play. And that's just no good. So but that's the bad. We're going to go into end on a good note, end on a good play that we're going to talk about here next. All right, ending on a good note here. This was probably my favorite play from the game. Probably not anyone else's favorite game, Cole, other than ours.
Underrated.
Yeah, underrated play here. Everybody's favorite play was probably the Ryan Williams play, or something along those lines. This is Isaiah Horton. But not only did Isaiah Horton do a great job here, but so did Ty Simpson. So this is a play here. It's Isaiah Horton's touchdown, and that's just his frame there, his athleticism, his build. Thank you, Miami. I appreciate it. Absolute great play here. But not only did Isaiah Horton, show off his athleticism here. If we run this play a year ago, I don't think Jalen Milroe was making this throw. This is, a dot from Ty, put it on a rope. Couldn't have placed it any better. He put it to where, his guy, is Isaiah Horton 6'4"? Put it where he could put it to where he can jump up and get it over this little cornerback here. Just watch Isaiah Horton on this play. Great route, and then that's just his athleticism showing off there. And then also, like I said, great play from Ty here. He looks really comfortable in the pocket. He does. He really does.
Yeah, taking a nap in that pocket. Pass protection was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't have thrown this ball any better. This ball was perfectly played.
Mm-hmm.
And you were mentioning last year with Milroe. Not only would Milroe not have made this throw, and I love Milroe. Mm-hmm. I think he did a lot of good things for our offense, but this is a throw that he does not make. We have no one that could catch this ball. I'm sure that Germie or Ryan are talented enough to go up and make a contested catch, but I don't feel confident because both of them aren't the biggest frame. They're not 6'4". We had Kendrick Law and Kobe Prentice and Emmanuel Henderson. They're not catching that pass. The only guy would be Caleb Odom, who's not even on the team anymore. He's not nearly as talented, I would say.
He's tight end for Ole Miss now.
Exactly. I think Isaiah Horton and Ty Simpson both bring elements to this offense that we have not seen in a while, and I'm so excited about this play. Was just in a nutshell what I think the future of this season is going to be like, and I'm so excited. It was an amazing play.
Yep. And like I said earlier, these two played, both from Tennessee. Isaiah's from Nashville. Ty's from Martin, Tennessee. His dad's the head coach at UT Martin. Played 7-on-7 together. Ty was Isaiah's quarterback in 7-on-7. And so it's just a great connection to have, especially with a receiver like Isaiah Horton and his build. I'm going to play it one more time just for everyone to see. Great route, too. Starts to give him outside leverage, breaks in, and then just, that's all Isaiah Horton there. All right, welcome to our very last segment. It's going to be College Game Day Pick'ems. We got a couple games here, and just interesting games that we want to kind of break down, briefly touch on a little bit. Obviously, we're going to touch more on the Alabama-Georgia game than any of the other ones. But first game we got here is Arizona State versus TCU. Arizona's favored 2.5, but the spread has them. But I have TCU. TCU so far, I think they're a bit more battle-tested than Arizona State. Arizona State has played Baylor and Mississippi State, lost to Mississippi State. But still, I think TCU still has a little bit better schedule so far. Versus SMU, they posted 517 yards of offense and averaged 6.7 yards per game or per play. And then, quarterback for TCU, Josh Hoover. He's got a 11-2 touchdown to interception ratio, and he can sling it. And not only do they have a great offense, but they can get off the field on third down, and I think that plays a factor here this weekend. And I think TCU, I think they cover, and they take it home.
Yeah. This was kind of like a toss-up game for me. I know it's the first one,
Yeah.
but it's a Friday night game, interestingly
Yeah.
enough. I'm rolling with the Devils because it's a night game and they're at home. And I know that TCU's got Sonny Dykes, they got Hoover, they got off to a very, very hot start. They're ranked for the first time. But Arizona State's got Sam Levitt and they've got Kenny Dillingham. And I trust that duo. I doubted them a lot last year,
No
and they proved me
Scatabo.
wrong. They were no Scatabo. Yeah. If this was Scatabo, this would be a whole different story. I'm rolling with the Devils just because I like the quarterback, the head coach, and then the home field advantage. Those were
Yep.
like the three reasons for me to why
It's
I was
in,
rolling with the Devils.
is it, how do you pronounce it? Tempe? Say that again?
Tempe, Arizona.
Yep. All right. Next matchup we got here, USC, Illinois. Um, you know, last week Illinois showed me how weak of a team they have. Absolutely got pummeled by Indiana. Did not expect that at all. USC averages 583 yards per game, which is top 3 in FBS, by the way. But it's not kind of like TCU where they're more of a better in the passing game. Um, they've got 331 yards per game through the air and 252 yards on the ground. So great mix there, Lincoln Riley. And Illinois doesn't really have a lot of momentum going into this game, but I think they better use that Indiana game as motivation, or it's going to be a repeat of last weekend. And another thing here is I think the early start time could affect USC. West Coast team going to Illinois, 11 a.m. start.
9 a.m. their time.
Yeah. So, but regardless of that, I'm going USC here. Go ahead, Cole.
I'm rocking with the Illini. As bad as it looked last week against Indiana, they need this one. This was their season. 2025 was the year that Illinois pushed all their chips in. They had a top portal class. They had a bunch of good recruits, and their quarterback Luke Altmaier stuck around for his senior year. So this is like the all-in year for Illinois, and I just think they need this one way more than USC needs it.
Yeah.
The main statistic that I used in picking Illinois is that USC last year, I know it's a new year, but last season they were 1-4 on the road. They were a horrible road team. And I know that they won at Purdue this year. That's all fine and dandy. But until that they can show me that they can consistently win on the road, I'm gonna have a hard time taking them, and that's why I'm rolling with Illinois to have a nice bounce back win and take down Jaden Mayava and Lincoln Riley and the Trojans.
All right, next matchup we got here is Arkansas versus Notre Dame. It's at Arkansas, but the spread's getting Notre Dame 5.5. I've also got Notre Dame. Notre Dame is unlike Arkansas. I think is tested. They played Miami, they played Texas A&M, lost both of those games, but two great teams they've played there. One on the road, and then had a shootout with Texas A&M there. So I think Notre they're tested, and then last week Arkansas sold my parlay, lost to Memphis. The last two games Arkansas have played, they've lost due to a fumble late in the game. I don't know if you were watching the Arkansas-Memphis game, Cole, but I was. And Mike Washington, great player for Arkansas. He's their running back one. That final drive that Arkansas had there, driving it down the field, and it was all Mike Washington, just running it down their throat. It was about to score, get at the 5-yard line, and he fumbles the football. With a minute and about 20 seconds left to go, and Arkansas ends up losing to where are they in the Conference USA? Is that right? Or American?
Memphis American.
Yeah, American Conference there. And you're supposed to be the big bad SEC team, and you go in there and you drop one to Memphis. Arkansas. The last two games they've lost to, like I said, is from fumbles. Shows me Arkansas has no discipline, and
They're not good. You don't have to mince your words. I mean, they're not very good.
I agree. So I've got Notre Dame here.
And I'm 100% agreeing with you there. I'm rolling with Notre Dame, and they are 1-2. I have a lot of confidence in this team. I think they actually win out, and I think that they make the playoffs at 10-2. You look at their losses. They went in CJ Carr's first career start. It was pouring rain against the number 2 team in the country, Miami, and it was a 3-point game. They lost 27-24. Then 2 weeks later, they were hosting another top 10 team. They were playing A&M. They scored 40 points. And then in their next game against Purdue, they put up 56 points. So there is no shortage of offense here. CJ Carr can get the job done. Their running backs, my God, they have this nasty duo. Jeremiah Love, who everyone talks about, but then Jadarian Price is also having an amazing start to the season. He had 3 rushing touchdowns last week.
Yep.
They've got a great duo, a good quarterback. If their defense can figure it out, I think that they're going to have a really successful season. And they're not going to need their defense too much because Arkansas is not very good. 5.5 is actually a joke to me. I'm actually probably going to hop on Fliff, and I might take like 10.5 or 11.5. I think Notre Dame blows them out.
I agree. I guess maybe the home field advantage there plays some kind of effect in the spread, but doesn't it's not going to matter. I agree. Next game we get up here, Texas A&M versus Auburn. Spreads Texas A&M 6.5. I've got Texas A&M. They're coming off a bye week. They're going to be well rested after that great win versus Notre Dame. It's at Kyle Field. 12th man, I think, is going to play a great factor there. A&M has scored 40-plus in their first 3 games. And they've got a balanced offense. They can run the ball with Le'Veon Moss. They can throw it to Marcel Reed. They also got Kevin Concepcion. And I also hate Auburn. So I'm going with the Aggies here. I'm not a fan of the Aggies either, but I hate Auburn. And to that note, I think I've got a note here. I think Hugh Freeze is gone after this season if they don't turn it around.
You're probably right. I think the fans and everyone just has too much expectations there. I'm also taking the Aggies. It's at home. That place is going to be electric. Auburn struggled on the road to Oklahoma, allowed 10 sacks, and A&M is they're better than Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma's number 7 in the country, A&M's number 9, so it's pretty comparable. I don't know if they're better, but I just think A&M is going to control the line of scrimmage, and Jackson Arnold's going to be in misery again. What's the spread on this one?
Texas A&M 6.5. You think they cover?
I'd probably take that. I think this is going to be another, I think Auburn doesn't score more than 20 points.
Yeah.
And I think A&M scored 40-plus every game this season. They put up 40 on the road at Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Now they're at home against Auburn. I think this is a recipe for success. I'm talking myself into it. I'm taking them probably by double digits.
And also, this could play a factor also. I believe Auburn beat A&M last year at Auburn, if I'm not mistaken.
Revenge.
Yep. So revenge is also a factor there. Next game, it's a battle for Lane Kiffin's daughter. We got LSU versus Ole Miss. Whit Weeks' girlfriend, Landry Kiffin. Lane Kiffin's daughter, Landry Kiffin. So, I've got LSU. The spread's Ole Miss 1.5. It's at Ole Miss. That I think that's a tough place to play. We saw that last year with the Georgia game when they upset Georgia. I'm also not too high on Garrett Nussmeier. I think he's a little overrated. But I'm still going with LSU here because Ole Miss they've got some serious issues versus the run. They've allowed 190 yards per game so far this season. And if LSU can establish that run game early, I could see this game going either way. But if LSU can establish the run game early, they've got a great third down defense, and they limit their turnovers. I think LSU is gonna walk away with a great road win in Oxford.
This is an amazing test for both teams.
Yeah.
And I'm actually running with the Rebels. I'm going with Ole Miss. Here's a name. Trinidad Chambliss. Austin Simmons was banged up in the Week 2 game against Kentucky. This kid, Trinidad Chambliss, came in, their backup, and has been lighting it up.
D3?
He actually was D2
D2.
Heisman last year at Ferris State, which is in Michigan. I'm from the Midwest, so a lot of people I know actually go to Ferris State. So I heard about this kid last year. I never would have thought that he would have transferred to Ole Miss and actually had success as a starter here. That's a big jump. D2
Yeah.
to SEC. He's been remarkable. They beat Arkansas. They beat Tulane, and Tulane is a good team.
Yeah,
a
John
very
Summerall,
good team. And
great coach.
Say it again.
John Summerall is a great coach. Coached Troy there for a while and led them to, I don't think he had a losing record over there. So
yeah, and they were getting college football playoff picks.
Yeah.
Tulane was,
Mm-hmm.
and Trinidad Chambliss took care of them 45-10. I've never been high on LSU ever. I mean, they got embarrassed by us at
Death Valley.
in Death Valley last year, and they didn't look that good in their win against Florida. They had 5 takeaways and 20 points.
Yeah.
So I think this is where the world hears and finally figures out we know about Trinidad Chambliss, but the casuals don't. And they're going to find out about this dude after he knocks off the number 4 team in the country. Give me the Rebels.
Also, just random side note here off talking about Tulane and John Summerall. I think John Summerall takes a Power 4 head coaching job this year. Maybe Arkansas, maybe even Auburn.
Virginia Tech.
Yeah. So anyway, they got 2 games left. Next one is Penn State, Oregon. At Penn State, spreads Penn State 3.5. I've got Oregon. I think they're the better team. I think they're the better roster. Dan Lanning, I think, is a much better coach than James Franklin. They've got an explosive offense. But I think this is the first real matchup either of these teams have this season. I think the last 3 games that they've both played they haven't played a real opponent so far. So I think this is going to be a great game, a great test for both teams. Off that note, I think because they really haven't played anyone, I think it's why they're still ranked as high as they are, especially Penn State. So I'm going Oregon here. Dante Moore, he's thrown for 962 passing yards, 11 touchdowns, only 1 interception, and he's got weapons. Malik Benson, he's got 200 plus yards receiving, 2 touchdowns. DeCorian Moore, the true freshman, same thing there. 5-star plus, 200 plus yards receiving, 2 touchdowns. Malik Benson, the Alabama transfer to Florida State, transfers from Florida State to Oregon. Oregon's also got a great defense, and I think Oregon, shocks everyone in Beaver Stadium and walks away with a road dub.
As we go week by week, you guys are going to see that I rock with the home teams quite a bit, and that's why I'm going with Penn State here. I just try. I know that the narrative around them is that they can't win the big game, so this is a big test. And I'm gonna rock with the home team who has the 3rd-year starter in Drew Aller over Dante Moore, who's playing this is his first year as a starter, and it's his first road start. I don't know if Oregon's been on the road yet. This is a tall task. Night game, whiteout in Penn State. I just think it's going to be it's a very, very tough task. He's had one road game at Northwestern so far, but this is a lot different than Northwestern. And I think Penn State takes care of business. I like their running back duo. I like their quarterback. I don't like their head coach, but I think Aller gets it done. Yeah. Give me Penn State. By 3. By 3.
By 3, you don't think they cover?
I don't think they cover.
Just off your note, I think another huge factor is I don't think James Franklin can win when it matters. So, I get the Ducks. Last game here, we've got Georgia-Bama. Tough away matchup here for the Crimson Tide. Spread is Georgia 3.5. If Georgia were to beat us, I'm giving away my pick here, but if Georgia were to beat us, I do think they cover. But I'm going with the Tide here. We're averaging. Help me out here, Cole. Averaging 335 passing yards a game. But three things we've got to do to win this game. We have to establish running game. We have to get off the field on third down, which Georgia is great on third down, and we have to limit the penalties. We've already touched on Ty and his completion rate. I think he's got the best completion rate in the SEC. Kirby Smart touched on that today. He said he thinks Ty is the hottest quarterback in the country right now. I'm not opposed to that. Like I said with Dante Moore at Oregon, we've already talked about our receiving group. Ty has weapons. Germie Bernard is averaging 18.3 yards per catch. We've got Latier Brooks, true freshman, Isaiah Horton, obviously Ryan Hollywood Williams. But I think two or three players that are going to be the X factor here that they must step up in this game. It's going to be Latier Brooks, Kevin Riley, and Isaiah Horton. Especially Horton. He's a little bit more experienced than the other two. So I think his experience needs to show this game. And there's a case for Isaiah Horton to be wide receiver 1, and I think he needs to show that this game. Alabama leads this all-time series 44-26, 4 ties.
9-1 in our last 10, right?
That's right.
Is it my turn yet? Am I gonna? Is it my opportunity to? Fortunately, it's my opportunity to disappoint some of the viewers. Get it out front. Going with the Bulldogs. They're at home. That plays a big factor.
Yeah.
They have the best head coach in the country, in my opinion, in Kirby Smart. And you already touched on it, but I think the biggest factor in this game is going to be who's going to win the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
Who's going to run the ball the best? Who's going to defend the run the best? And basically, the two people that Alabama is counting on are playing in their first game of the season coming off an injury. How are we going to run the ball? Probably with Jam Miller. How are we going to defend the run? Probably with our nose tackle, Tim Keenan. Both of those guys haven't played yet this year. I just find it tough to bank on those guys having like an all-time game when they're just coming off an injury. It's a really tall task, but we've seen it before. DeBoer gets his guys ready for the big ones. You saw the Georgia game last year.
Especially off a bye week.
Say it again?
Especially off of a bye week.
Off of a bye week. DeBoer off a bye week. So I could totally see us winning. But I'm a Chicago sports fan. I've been through this experience way too many times. Got to lower my expectations, so then the win seems way cooler than a loss that hurt. Makes sense.
Yep.
But yeah, it's two first-year quarterbacks, so it's gonna be an interesting battle. I think we're gonna see probably Ty Simpson's first interception, just being realistic. But I think we're gonna get some takeaways as well. It's gonna be a really fun football game. It's gonna be a battle. I can see overtime. I can see a game-winning field goal. I am so excited for this game. It's going to be amazing. And obviously, I'm rooting for the Tide so hard. Just got to set my expectations a little low. But let's go, Bama.
Yeah. I agree. I think Kirby Smart is the best coach in college football. Came from the Nick Saban coaching tree there, was at Alabama for years. So he finally went to his alma mater at Georgia, and like Nick Saban, Kirby's a defensive guy. Great defensive mind when it comes to football over there at Georgia, and so I don't know if Ty throws his first interception, but if he does, it's going to be because of Kirby's scheme. He's going to throw in some kind of deception, some kind of, he's going to get Ty distracted somehow. So, I could see that. You're right. But I just can't pick against the Tide there. Just can't do it. Don't think I ever will do it. Just, for in future episodes, probably always going to do the Alabama game. Obviously, this is the Alabama podcast. Don't ever see myself picking against Bama. Just can't come to do it. But, yeah, like I said, Alabama leads 44-26-4 in the all-time series. Like Cole said, we've won 9 of the last 10, 9-1 in the last 10. And doesn't get much better than it was last year. Being at that game was, an incredible experience. people are still talking about it today, a year later. It was.
I think you're going to hear it talked about for.
Oh yeah,
decades.
I think it's going to be one of those. It's a kick six type situation. You know,
Yes.
I still see videos about the kick six. It still gets mentioned. Luckily now I can counter that with 4th and 31 or 21, 31, 4th and 31 I think.
31.
But yeah, so
And
finally,
the 98-yard drive was from Bryce. You got a
Yeah.
couple counterpoints there.
yeah, and triple OT I think it was. Ja'Cory Brooks. But yeah, that concludes today's episode of the very first episode of the Bama College Take. My name is Jackson Tingle, alongside Cole Pearson. We thank you for tuning in, and we hope to see you next week for Vanderbilt week. And as always, roll tide.